Bespoke Gene Therapy Consortium, or the BGTC, is also focused on increasing the efficiency of AAV-based gene therapy, but there are some significant differences. This is a public-private partnership, so it's a collaboration between multiple partners at the NIH, 11 different institutes and centers, as well as some of the major pharmaceutical companies that are involved in AAV gene therapy, as well as some nonprofits, and it's coordinated by the Foundation for the NIH. I think with regard to the BGTC, I think the other important part to note about it is that the development of the BGTC was very much spearheaded by the FDA themselves and the Center for Biologics and Peter Marks. So I think their involvement is brought in both the pharmaceutical companies and made it of interest. And I think that will have potentially make the BGTC have an even greater potential impact as we go forward. In terms of addressing the challenges, I think one of the things that we hope to do in the BGTC is to come up with a standardized set of assays to characterize new AAV vectors and to use that same set of assays on all the vectors made in the program. And I think if we can narrow that down, we hope that that might be a smaller number of assays than some companies are using. And if we can get that narrowed down to a limited number, that will also make it easier as new people come into the field and are planning to develop an AAV. So they have a clear understanding of what the expectations are. And I think that will ultimately reduce the burden of making these new AAV vectors for clinical trials.
So all of these take time and all of these take a lot of work and they need a lot of people, but things like, for example, natural history studies where you're trying to define the disease, these can be partnerships between academic investigators, patients, NIH, and industry. These platform-style approaches that we talk about where you're trying to target many diseases at a time, those take a lot of coordination, but there's a lot of translational science involved in those that need to be improved on as well. And a lot of these approaches we've been taking on, again, the platforms, the shared molecular and etiologies, for a lot of diseases, or certainly for the rare genetic diseases, those are really considered exploratory right now and they're high risk. So those are really ideal situations for NIH to step in and to work on these and then to try to disseminate this information out to the community so that we can continue to build on these and improve them.
We are also committed to making the information that we learn from the PAVE-GG project publicly available. And that includes not only the data, the preclinical data and the clinical trial protocols, but also, very importantly, our communications with the FDA, where we're trying to engage them about how we can make the process more efficient because we're using this therapeutic platform. In the process of doing that, we'll be asking questions to the FDA in various meetings, and they'll be responding to us, and we'll make all that information available so that everybody going forward after we do this can have access to it, and they can essentially learn with us. We even want to include in there things like the INDs that we get that we hope that ultimately will be approved. And if we can then take those INDs and make them available as sort of templates for other groups to use, that would make the process more efficient and easier on the people going forward, and also more efficient and easier on the FDA because they will be seeing these IND applications in a standardized format, and hopefully a better format, one they're more familiar with. And so in all these ways we hope to make the process more efficient and ultimately change the way people develop clinical trials of AAV gene therapy.
NIH still has a really big role to play in really a lot of areas. There's still a lot of science that needs to be worked out. There's still a lot of work to be done with the targeting of these therapies, so the delivery, viral particles, nanoparticles. There are still a lot of diseases that need their molecular underpinnings better elucidated. And there's a lot of foundational science that needs to go on before we could even go into a clinical trial.
If we are successful in this, we will have made the process of developing AAV gene therapies for all diseases more efficient, but I think the real benefit there will be for the diseases that are sometimes referred to as ultra rare. We think of them as diseases of no commercial interest. And the real benefit there will be on people trying to develop and start up clinical trials for these where they don't have the benefit of an industry partner. You know, often these are the parents of kids with these diseases, and making things as easy for them as possible, a streamlined regulatory path, I think is where the real potential benefit of the BGTC will be. We do hope it has broader benefits than that, and that it streamlines the general processes of AAV gene therapy for both rare and common diseases, and that would be a wonderful thing too.